Good morning, lovelies. So, this video is another trying a pattern with fashion fabric because I want a workable mock-up type thing. The pattern I'm trying is B6212, and this is a wrap dress that was originally produced in the 1952, 1950s style. I will say that looking at the front of this pattern, it is pretty evident that I will end up having to make some kind of petticoat to go with it, because the skirt swings out quite a bit in the pattern, and that probably requires a petticoat of some kind. Now, the reason I am doing this pattern instead of, say, the walkaway style dress is because A, it does not use bias tape around the edges. I understand that's a great way to add detail and color, but it did not look that appealing to me, unless I made my own. But the other issue, or other part that drew me to this pattern is the neckline. Now, if you've watched my recent videos, this neckline is very similar to the green dress I just made. And I really like how that green dress looks on me. However, I've also come to the realization that I don't have a lot of staples in my wardrobe. So I thought about it, and I thought about what I actually like to wear, and I like to wear dark colors. So at Joann's right now, they have this really pretty black and white crinkle rayon, and I kind of couldn't resist. It's really pretty. You'll see it at the end of the video. But I really liked this fabric, and I was going, well, that would make a really pretty wrap dress, and it wouldn't be see-through. It is a little bit sheer when it's exposed to light, but again, you kind of have to expect that. But they call this a pullover back wrap, fitted through bust, has bodice front extension to side back, self-lined midriff, skirt extending to back, no side seams, concealed elastic with hook and eye closure, and a narrow hem. Now, I ended up doing all these hems by hand. Yes, that is a lot of hemming. Yes, I did that with silk thread. And yes, I did end up thinking of this as practice for hand sewing, because that's a lot of hemming. But it was basically black on black. It did give me a lot of practice on hand sewing, so there's that. The elastic is kind of a belt to make sure that the sides don't slip away so far that you end up exposing your side where you don't want to be exposed. This does not give you the option of having long sleeves, but that's okay. This is meant to be a summer dress. It has an all-in-one short sleeve, and really I like how it looks on me. I have come to the realization that with having slightly longer arms and slightly broad shoulders, no shirt is going to fit me right off the bat. So I have two patterns that relatively fit, like this one. This one fits. It actually sits at the apex of my shoulder. On most other people, it would be slightly large. But that is just a thing. So, yes. I did use a white button on the back because I thought it would help draw out the white in the pattern. I did end up just using the black and white floral print all over it. I like how it looks. You'll have to let me know what you think. So overall, I found this pattern, once I got into it, kinda easy, but I have been sewing basically non-stop for 2 years. So take that with what you with a grain of salt. I will say that this pattern is rather flexible. So, because it has the elastic around the waist in the front and the back wrap, don't worry too much about anything else. The button placement on the back is done on the back dart, like into that extra fabric, so you don't need to interface it because it is going through 3 layers of fabric. I will say that if I were to do this dress again, I would probably go with like a cotton poplin or a gingham or some like stiffer fabric that would want to hang out on its own. Like, because the front of this skirt is basically a half a circle. It's large. The back is just almost a chic style. It's just a rectangle. The entire back is cut in one piece, so it can make it difficult to fit unless you're kind of used to that or just like don't care. Like, I more care about getting the front like fitted. But other than that, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope that if you're trying this pattern yourself, I hope it's helpful. Other than that, I will see you all next time. Bye. Okay, so here's the fabric I'm using. It's a black and white crinkle floral rayon. These are the buttons I'm using, which are it's a faux mother of pearl. They are very white. I hoped that it would draw the white floral out. This is the elastic I'm using. It's a 1 inch non-roll elastic. The pattern, which is the B6212, and the hook and eye for the elastic tie in the front. So, once I've got that all situated, the first step I never record, which is ironing on the interfacing. Now, one thing about this pattern is if you're doing it with a stiff like cotton fabric, you will want to go a size down at least. I'm using this slightly stretchy rayon, which kind of shrinks with the crinkle effect. So I went with my about normal size, so it would be comfortable for me to wear. But it does run large. So here I am just prepping the front darts. So it does have the front bust dart as well as the dart to the waist. So while it's a little iffy on getting it to fit right, it does have those 2 darts, so it does help to fit it better. If that makes sense. I'm not sure it does, but at least I tried. So, yes, here I am drawing the lines to give myself a sewing line. And once I have done that, then I will baste along that to hold it in place. That is one of the tricks I have found, is to baste your darts so that after you've ironed them and you baste them down, they won't flop around on you when you try to sew certain seams, like side seams or base seams, so that you don't get that random pucker. Also, from what I've done researching, is everyone tells you to iron them differently. I usually try to follow the pattern, and if not, I lay the dart first up and then down and see which way is least obtrusive to the bodice. Usually I try to iron the side bust dart down and the front bust dart over, like towards the side. Once I've got both sides marked, I will then go through and pin the tip of the dart as well as the edge of the end of the dart. Once that is done, then I will take it over to the sewing machine and sew it, along with anything else that I've I've pinned at that point to sew. Overall, this is kind of a guessing game when you're sewing these. You could do the ladder stitch, which is a little helpful, but then you've got the dart on the wrong side, so either you have to mark the front of the pattern or you have to have a sewing line. So it's one or the other. So here I am prepping the back darts. So both of these darts do give you a bit of room. However, well, a bit of shaping. However, the dart closest to the center of the back is the dart where you will be putting your buttons in. So if you're going to take anything in, that is the dart I would recommend. I did not end up having to take anything in because I don't mind that this is a little bit loose. If you want it very fitted, i.e. you're using a stiffer cotton, then I would recommend paying attention to how these darts sit, as well as how much you do take in. But again, I am doing this to be kind of a loose summary wrap, as opposed to a more like structured, more of what the pattern was originally meant for. I just wanted a nice summery wrap that I could wear when it actually gets hot. I probably will do this one again and try to make it a little more fitted, if I can find some stiffer cotton that I actually like. So once again, when I have those darts pinned and the pins pulled through, then I will use my marking weapon and mark out those darts and then play connect the dots. Once that is done, then I will pin them out, sew them, and I will have a back. Because this entire thing is a back. Then once I've got that done, I will then go through and trying to remember when all I did. It's been a little bit. Once I've got those darts marked, then I think it's attaching the shoulder. One thing I will say is I forgot to let the front skirt hang overnight, so now it is kind of like a butterfly effect, but I don't mind that too much because I kind of like that. It's pretty and it looks nice and I don't mind it. I might at some point unpick that front hem and level it, but at the moment I'm okay with it, so yay. I will say when working with crinkle rayon, it is a little bit slippery, so you do have to be a little more careful about how you do things. It will want to shift on you, it will want to move. It is not as bad as velvet, but I don't think anything is as bad as velvet. Even basting velvet is a pain in the patootie. So yes, marking out those darts. Part of the trick to fitting this dress is to remember that there is no side seam. It is when you do the back, it will end up wrapping around the front and have like a 2 to 3 inch gap, depending on the type of elastic you use and how elasticy it is. Then I will be doing, after this I'll be doing the front facings, which is, I've already ironed on the interfacing, and I just used a cheap poly non-woven interfacing. I will say, this is not my favorite interfacing anymore. I found 100% cotton woven interfacing, and that is my favorite. It just suits me better. So I will sew these shoulder seams for the facing, so that when I sew the shoulder seams to the fashion fabric on the exterior, I will then be able to turn this under and stitch it and then tack the shoulder seams. One of the things I did do is tack the front point of the facing so that it would lay correctly. I also did a 1/4 inch seam around the unfinished edge and then turned that under and zigzagged over it so that it would be relatively finished. So here I am getting ready to attach the bodice to the back to the front. So the bodice to the back. And I am doing French seams on the shoulders simply to finish them off. I don't want to have to turn under this seam allowance and sew it again. So I will just sew wrong sides to wrong sides and then right sides to right sides, and I will have a finished seam. And I just do that by sewing a 1/4 inch in, trimming off any frayed edges, which does happen when you're working with this fabric. And then once I've got that done, I will then go through and press it open, and then flip the fabric so it's right sides to right sides, and then press that closed so you get a nice crisp edge there. And then I will sew 3/8 of an inch away from that edge, and then you have a French seam. I will usually go through and press it again, which is basically I press it while it's laying flat, and then I press the seam to the back. And I do this simply because I don't want the lump in the front. And it does create a lump of fabric. If you're doing a French seam method, you want to do this on a thinner fabric. Something like this rayon or a silky fabric, or even a lightweight cotton. So here I am doing the front facing, and how I'm doing that is wrong sides to wrong sides. I almost did it right sides to right sides. I almost did it wrong sides to wrong sides. So what I do is I match up these notches, which is what you see me pinning, and then I just match up along that curve to make sure that I get it. So I did draw out that sewing line so I have a general guide of where to sew, because at the 5/8 inch it can get interesting. I do like this neckline though, so I probably will snag this again at some point because I like the neckline. I like how it sits. It is one of my favorite necklines. If you've seen my green dress video, it is very similar to that, and I do advise this neckline, at least on well, people probably similar to me, because it looks really nice. I'm not worried about those shoulder seams on the front facing because it will get covered up when I turned it on the inside and then tack it down. So there won't be a lot of wear to that section. And the whole reason to finish seams is to prevent wear and tear on those seams, which will help prevent the fraying out of the seams, which, i.e., extends the longevity of making the dress or whatever you're wearing. I will say that if you're working with this crinkle rayon, pinking the edges just won't do it. You've either got to French seam it or finish it in a binding would work, or overcasting it would work, but it is a very floopy fabric and it frays very easily. Just handling it like this will fray. So just keep that in mind if you're using this type of fabric or a fabric similar. It does like to fray out on you, so finishing the seams as soon as possible is probably a good idea. But once you've got that sewn, then you can Trying to remember. Oh, attach the front skirt to the bodice. Trying to remember how I did this. Oh, there's a midriff piece, so you put the midriff on, and then you put the skirt on, and then you slip stitch the midriff back to the skirt, which then encapsulates that edge. I did French seam down the front of the skirt because that's the only seam on this front skirt. You could, if you had enough fabric, cut it on a fold, but it is a like half circle skirt. So at that point it's kind of large and would take up a large amount of fabric, and then you'd be scrambling to, you know, have fabric for everything else and not just a half a circle skirt. So I would not recommend that. It is just easier to have the front of the seam, the front seam, and then you will just, if you've got a busy enough fabric, you won't see it, or if you've got a plain fabric, you can make it a feature. It just is what it is. It's one of the devils of having a big skirt. So yes, right now I am just pinning that front seam. That front midriff piece, which is the uninterfaced piece, which is how I like it. It will make it so that the front piece won't wiggle too much. So yes, once you've done this midriff, then you can drip it off your whatever you're holding your other pieces on. Do the front of the skirt, which is, I did French seaming on that. So wrong sides to wrong sides, right sides to right sides, and then attach and basically sandwich uh, the skirt with the midriff pieces. Once that is done, then you will hem it, and I was a little bit of a fool and hand hemmed all these seams, which took a day and a half just to do the hand seaming. Overall, this took me probably 4 days, I would say. One for the back of the bodice, one for assembling the midriff and the skirt, and then the third and fourth day is just hand sewing because I did all the edges hand sewn. I did strength seams and then I hand hemmed. And there was a lot of hemming because this was a wrap dress. So it's not just bottom, like the hem of the skirt, it is up the back of the sides, around the armholes. It was just a lot, and I was probably a fool for doing it that way, but I wanted to use this project to work on my hand hemming. Or my hand seaming, as the case may be. And I am starting to build up some natural calluses for hand sewing, so that makes me happy. Overall, I like how this dress turned out. I would probably do this in a different fabric next time, but I like this fabric and I wanted to use it on a project, and I just wasn't sure of what to do. The only other fabric I could think of that would suit this was a 1940s winter style dress, and I have a few of those now. I probably will do a couple more because that's just me. I like long sleeve clothing when I can get away with it. But I also know that I can layer this dress because it is a technical sleeveless option, I can stick like a turtleneck under it, or I can stick a collared blouse under it, and it would look very nice. It is kind of, it reminds me a lot of a transitional piece. While it is based off a 1950s pattern, it does remind me a lot of medieval tunic style dresses, and it just reminds me a lot of different styles of dresses, so it is probably going to go straight into my wardrobe as a rotational overdress or just dress. Just depends on what I want to wear with it and how I want to wear it. So I hope you enjoy this. Please let me know what you think down below. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.